Good evening and welcome to tonight's Thinking Thursday. We've got a little change, but life is filled with changes. We did have a guest tonight who was coming to talk about being an abuser. This is Domestic Violence Month, and close to the last minute, it was something came up. He couldn't do it. Emotionally, things can happen, and we can think we're in a good place, or we can be ready, and it can happen. And that's what happened today. And it's okay. So, those of you who tuned in to hear, hang in there tonight anyway. We still have some things to talk about. We'll probably have an abbreviated show, but life goes on. Um, and to the guests, I won't even, those who knew you were coming, they know. I won't even use your name right now, but your time will come. We will hear your story. Um, we can talk about domestic violence any month of the year. It does not have to just be in October. And the story he has to tell is worth hearing. So we'll hear it when God is ready for us to hear it. So we're going to start off tonight, as we always do, with some deep breathing. For those of you who it's the first time with us, we do deep breathing for several reasons. Deep breathing allows you to get more oxygen to your brain, more oxygen flowing through your body, which gives your body just more life. It makes things happen for you. From a perspective of um, thinking, it allows you to clear your brain and it allows more oxygen to flow into that temporal lobe, which is the part that allows you to make logical decisions. So we're going to breathe into the count of four and breathe out to the count of four for about 3 times. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, in, 2, out, 2. One more. In, 2, out, 2. Hopefully that puts you in that woosah space and you're a little more calm. And I know I needed I didn't breathe with you. I was busy counting. I needed a little woosah because it was a last minute change. But I figure God knows what he's doing. And if we needed to change right now, we needed to change. But we will pick up with the same guest who is going to talk about domestic abuse from the point of view of an abuser. One thing I will say is that I've got interesting feedback. People who wanted to hear it and people who thought I shouldn't even have that type of topic because who would want to hear from an abuser? And what I say is this we need to hear life from all sides, not to glorify or even validate an abuser, but to understand some things that go through that mindset. So, tonight, since we're at very last minute change, we're going to talk about anxiety. Why? Anxiety was part of the reason my guest couldn't make it tonight. Anxiety was what hit me at 6:53 when I realized I didn't have a guest and I didn't have a backup plan. So that was an anxious moment for me. Um, Very anxious. And I had the option of saying, okay, you know what? I just won't do it. Why bother? I don't have my guests. I'll just type into Facebook, due to unforeseen circumstances, thinking Thursday is canceled for tonight. I chose not to do that. I chose to come on and let's just talk about what's before us. And what's before us is um, anxiety. And I see Eric out there. Hello, Eric. If you are listening tonight, anyone who's out there listening right now, drop a word in of how you are doing today. My word is it was anxious. Now I'm just walking in faith. And we are going to talk about that for a minute. But how are you feeling? Who's out there tonight? What's going on in your life? So I said we would, since we don't have our guest, And I'll reiterate that throughout the night so as people come on, they'll understand. Some people were planning, for the topic. Since our guest is not here tonight, we're just going to kind of deal with anxiety. Why am I dealing with anxiety? Well, it's what stopped my guest and it's what almost froze me and stopped me, but it's real. And I want to talk about, and I spoke with someone earlier today who was going through a situation and they were also experiencing the physical symptoms of anxiety. They are real. So, and thank you, Eric, for telling me to woosah, because I'm working on it. I'm glad the breathing gave you a woosah moment. So, when you think about people and anxiety, here's what happens. There are some physical manifestations for anxiety that can happen in your life. My guest talked about his heart. You feel like, you feel like your heart is beating out of your chest. And you're not sure if you're having a heart attack or if it's an anxiety. So I asked, do you think it's anxiety? Do you think something is wrong? One can lead to the other. But when you are feeling anxiety, oh my gosh, it can cripple you, which is why I'm only here tonight and not my guest. But it's a good opportunity to talk about how do you work your way through anxiety. Anxiety is an ugly thing. Anxiety is a crippling thing. So what do we do with that? Wow, I see people I haven't seen in a while. And hello, Tremaine, and Winter, and Sarah. Thank you for joining us tonight. Those who are just checking in, we had a change of pace at the last minute, the very last minute. And because it dealt with anxiety, we're going to talk about that. So, when we think about anxiety, I want to look at it from different ways. It's my belief that our physical, spiritual, mental health are all one. They're just our health. We divide it out in Western culture, but they overlap. So, I want to look at anxiety from those 3 points of view. Looking at it from the physical, as I said, for some people, your heart races and it feels as if you're having a heart attack. It feels as if your heart is going to beat out of your chest. For some people, it is a lightheadedness. It's like, I just can't focus. I can't see straight physically, like you can't see. Winter's Storm says, her body shakes and she gets a lump in her throat like it's closing. And some people actually can't talk. It is. You feel like you just can't say anything. For some others, it's you can't breathe. You feel like you literally can't breathe. And if somebody tells you to take a deep breath, you just can't. Very slowly, maybe you can get to that point. So there are physical things that happen with anxiety where it takes over your body. We have another one says, wow, thank you. Connector says we needed to hear from you today. Another symptom would be sweating and the urge to take off running. And that was one someone said today. They were so anxious, they got to the point where they just felt like they wanted to just scream. Why? Because it was so much inside that needed to get out, and it was really all the anxiety. So, anxiety has a lot of physical manifestations. Um, and when we look at our world, we have so much going on that make us anxious. I do want to stop and say, even though we have a last minute topic, start a watch party. Share. Thank you for Kanetra for reminding me of that. And she's already started a watch party, so I challenge you: start a watch party. Invite people on. God knows what He's doing, so somebody needs to hear about anxiety tonight. So we're gonna go with it. So when we look at the physical manifestations of anxiety, it literally can take over your body. It can also be paralyzing in the sense that you can't move. It's like, I can't get up from this chair right now because I just can't. I don't know what will happen if I move. And people can actually experience that. Um, it can go so many ways. So when you're feeling a lot of physical symptoms, you may not know what it is. I'll be transparent with you. The first time I experienced anxiety in my life, I shouldn't tell my Houston friends this, but was when I moved up here. The job I moved up here, physically, I was having anxiety symptoms. And it was because of the job. It wasn't working for me. It wasn't working in my life. Someone says their stomach gets in knots. They're constantly going to the bathroom, or some people can't go. I mean, those are some, it physically can impact your life. And I understand it can totally take your life to another place where you're just not ready. Anxiety doesn't care how old you are. We have a teacher on who says anxiety cripples kids. I see this as an educator daily. And now, when we're dealing with COVID, you have the kids who are at home and the kids who are at school. And they both have different types of anxiety. The kids are at school, some of the anxiety they're still seeing is because I was ready to come back to school and this isn't it. On the elementary level, we don't get to just go play with our friends. We don't have free time in the classroom. And even in the high school, middle school level, there are only 5 to 10 people in a room and you're sitting far apart. It's not what you thought it would be. So that feels weird. And that weirdness can generate a certain amount of anxiety. For the kids that are at home who maybe want to go to school and their parents are saying, no, I don't want you to, that's an anxiety. For the kids who are at home because they choose to stay and they feel like, I got this, I'm going to stay at home. Now they're realizing after it's been 6, 8, 9, 10 weeks, however long, your district's been back, they're feeling like I need to be there because I'm not getting everything I need. That's a sense of anxiety. And then if they talk to their friends at school, well, you still may not be right. So the uncertainty causes them to feel anxious. So, like I say, anxiety doesn't care. I have been working as a therapist recently, even seeing anxiety in young children. And when we look at our world today, there is so much to be anxious about. Let's look at the election. Just I can't wait until it's over and I can watch television and there's not going to be a mean, hateful ad on from either side. I don't want to see another ad for anybody. Um, and that does give a little anxiety because it's just you're tired of it. You don't know how the election's going to work out. People are worried about that, so you don't feel good about that either. Then the racial unrest in our country, if that doesn't generate anxiety in you, I don't know what will. And every day we're still seeing more and more things. We're hearing more and more hateful things. And if you're a parent and you have to talk to your child about it, that doesn't feel good either. How do you talk to your child about the hate that is in the world? How do you talk to your beautiful little brown child about you have to be careful just because of the color of your skin? Sorry, you can't do that. In 2020, how those things haven't changed. That breeds anxiety in the parent who has to say it, as well as a child who has to hear it. When you look at anxiety from, I say we're going to look at it from a physical, a mental, and a spiritual point of view. There are people who need medication to manage anxiety. And let me take a moment as a therapist and talk about that. Why do I want to say that? I don't prescribe, don't want to, glad I don't have that ability, but I will tell you this. There are times when we might need that medication. And let me explain it a little deeper. If you have high blood pressure and the doctor said you've got to be on insulin, you're not going to like it. And you may be inconsistent, but you'll probably take your insulin. If you have, diabetes, and you have and need insulin, you will probably take your insulin. If you had high blood pressure and you had to take your medication, you probably would take it. If you have kidney issues and had to go to dialysis, you're going to go to dialysis because those are things a part of your physical health and you're going to do it or you may perish. But when it comes to our mental health, we think we're weak. We're less than if we have to do something. It is all a part of your health. That's why I say mental health is health. It is all a part of our health. If it is you and you're listening to me and the doctor says, man, you're going to have to take this. You really need to take this. Doctors can look at EKGs and tell you that the stress you're under is harming your heart. Your heart is fine, but you're putting it under stress, emotional stress, and it is impacting the functioning of your heart. Might need to manage your stress and take a pill in the meantime. If you have to do that, it doesn't mean they are that something's wrong with you. It simply means it's part of your health. And just like when you have high blood pressure, your body, your blood pressure is out of whack. It's not functioning right. Your levels are wrong. Well, there are levels in your brain that are not functioning right, and you have to deal with it sometimes with a pill. Now, I am not saying always take a pill for everything. As a matter of fact, when it comes to that, you need to take the pill and then still deal with a counselor. Deal with someone to help you, but the pill can get your mind in a place where you can hear because you can't always hear because you're not in the right space. So, no, that's something, it's okay that you have to be in that space. Some other fears that have come up, or Eric says his daughters mother me every time I leave home because they're concerned about me coming home. So just because their dad is a chocolate man going outside, it causes them to worry. You coming home? You gonna get stopped? Don't speed. Don't do this. All those fears are real. I want to reiterate again, those who are just joining us, we were to talk about domestic abuse and interview someone who was the abuser, but he was unable to do it. Anxiety got in the way tonight. And so rather than cancel the show, I dealt with my anxiety by saying we'll just go on and we'll talk about anxiety and what it does to people because it's real. And at any given time, any of us can find ourselves in a situation where our anxiety can take over our life. And we don't want that to happen. So I was looking at just the medical side. If there is a word called anxiety because we have anxiety. If you are dealing with anxiety right now, you are not the only one. That's why they have medicine for it. That's why they have therapy for it. That's why they have theories for it. That's why there are hundreds of CEU classes I can take, all to help people manage anxiety. So it is okay. And I want to validate you. If you're out there, if you're bold enough, drop a line in and say, yeah, I have had anxiety in my life before. It could be freeing for you to be able to say it. And I'm willing to tell you, I have. I have had to deal with anxiety. Um, Anxiety can also be impacted by just your life. Because remember, I say physical, mental, spiritual are all one. It's just part of who you are. And so when something happens in your life that could be negative or make you sad, it could also lead to you dealing with anxiety. For instance, grief. Yes, grief can cause anxiety. How? Your Depending on how the person dies, if they die and tragically suddenly, that can cause anxiety because you might be wondering, what could happen to me? And that's real. People do that. Or just the loss because you're feeling so anxious all the time because a person's death can shift your world. And when your world is shifted and you don't know what to do, it's off center, it's off kilter, that can cause anxiety. I see people in here who are bold enough to say, yeah, I certainly have had anxiety. Thank you, Elaine, for sharing, because we have. And it's okay to say, yeah, my life has been stressful. And I have experienced anxiety and I didn't know what to do with that anxiety. So when we look at it from, like I say, that mental, that clinical point of view, it is real. We look at, as a clinician, I'm going to look at your physical symptoms that you tell me about. You've been to the doctor and the doctor says, physiologically, you good. This is stress you're dealing with. Then we're going to look at that. I can think of clients I've worked with, the breathing that we do in the beginning. And maybe before we leave today, we'll go through a relaxation exercise. I might even try putting on my little music for you and we'll try it. But learning how to self soothe and accepting that it's real. So if that is you and you've ever experienced anxiety, understand you're not alone. Understand that it's real. It is something that can happen and can manifest in people's life at any time. So when it happens, it's okay. What's not okay is to ignore it, and to say, well, no, I'm good. Now, let me speak to my sisters for a minute. As black women, we're strong. We got this. And if we show any weakness, we're not a real black woman. Because, we had to do it all. We've got to go to work. We got to take care of the kids. We got to stroke the man's ego. We got to do homework at night. We've got to go and make sure the boss has what they want. We got to work twice as hard to get half the amount of money because we are black and we're women, so we're going to be paid a little less. But we still got to do the job. We got to do it great. We do all of that, and we are ready to fall out. And when we don't do it, it's something wrong with us. We're weak, so we can't go to therapy because it means something is wrong with us. No. Do you know why we die at a higher rate? Part of that is how we manage our lives and our anxiety. We don't stop to realize that these are problems and I need to deal with them. I'm not Superwoman. So I tell you, every one of my sisters out there, take that S off of your chest and throw it away. You do not have to be a superwoman. God didn't make you to be a superwoman. We're going to get to the spiritual in a minute. Some things people are saying is have anchors and then have a playlist, have songs. And I've actually recommended that to clients. I had a client who had to take a drive somewhere. I said, okay, you know what? Get your playlist together. They said, what? I said, no, this is your therapy homework. Get your playlist because as you're driving, going toward a situation that's going to be stressful, put some music on that makes you sing out loud. Put some music on that makes you laugh. Listen to a comedian because now you can pretty much find everything on, on the phone via YouTube or something else. Do what it takes to make you feel good. It's okay. Have that Bible verse that makes you know that you know that you know God is there for you. Sonia says Philippians 4:7, and she repeats it over and over and over and over. But have that verse. What speaks to you? I've had many a client, I tell them, find that verse, that saying, that quote, something that makes you feel good. Make it a JPEG, put it on your phone so that every time you pick up your phone, your screensaver is that verse, that quote, that saying, something that makes you feel good. Because let's face it, we pick up our phone more than one time a day. So pick that phone up and let it, when you see it, and then sometimes I just need to see it and just look at it. I got that. Yeah. Hold on to what makes you feel good. Someone put the phone, they showed me they made a picture and they got a customized phone case and it had the verse that made them feel good. But again, ladies, my sisters, take off the S, take off the cape, as someone says, throw it away. Someone says, I'm burning that doggone cape. Burn it. You are not Superwoman. You're not Superwoman now, nor do you ever have to be. It is okay to be vulnerable. And the Bible says, when I'm weak, I am strong. Because when you're weak, then you realize, okay, God, I need you. Come on, help a sister out. But as long as you are doing everything by yourself, you won't get help. The church I go to right now is going through a series called Selfless. And one of the things in the Selfless series is to be able to ask for help. So each week the congregation is given a challenge to do something to show you're selfless. And the first one was allow yourself to be vulnerable. Find somebody. You should all have someone, at least one person in your life where you can be vulnerable with and you can say, I need help. Find someone where you can say, I need help, and ask for help. And it might just be, I'm having a rough day. I just need you to listen to me. Don't talk. Don't say anything. Let me just emotionally throw up and I'll be good. And you need to also be that person for someone, because if you want that, you have to, it's a give and take. You need it and they need it too. Be able to just say, you know what? I need that. So have that person be able to just be vulnerable. It will not kill you to say you need help. Help is a 4-letter word, but it's a 4-letter word you can use. So be able to ask for help when you need it. On the other side, I would say let's get to the spiritual part. I said we were going to talk about the spiritual as well. Where does that fit in with anxiety? Well, there's so many scriptures that talk about fear and anxiety. In the New American Standard Version, the word fear and fear not appear over 300 times in the Bible. You know why I think it's there? God knew we were going to have a whole lot of fear. Fear not, don't fear, don't be afraid, don't be scared. It's there throughout. However, it's there because fear is real. Um, a lot of people, let me go back, looking at not just fear, but I want to attack this statement. A lot of you out there love and feel extremely spiritual when you say, I'm too blessed to be stressed. And I say, good for you, because I'm blessed and stressed. When you say you're too blessed to be stressed, we negate the thought that we can be both. I know I'm blessed, but I know sometimes I am stressed. When I got the call at 7:43, okay, yes, no, and at 7:57 it was no, you don't think I felt stressed? You don't think I was like, had to tell myself, breathe, breathe. It didn't feel like it. It wasn't coming. I was stressed in that moment. Did that mean in my mind I wasn't blessed? Not at all. So you can be blessed and you can be stressed. It's which one are you going to let take over? It doesn't mean you don't have a relationship with God, you some sorry saint, some sickly Christian if you feel stressed, if you feel anxiety. So first off, take that off the plate. God doesn't want you to feel that way. He wants you to lean on him, but he knows you're going to feel stressed. That's why he's like, come on, lean on me. That's why he has to tell you, be anxious for nothing. Why does he have to say it? Don't worry about anything. And then he tells you that, and then he tells you what to do. Pray, ask me, lean on me, and then I'll give you peace. Here's the thing. We sometimes can get so caught up in the stress, we don't do what that whole verse says. Be anxious for nothing, but with prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. So don't be anxious. Pray, ask God what you want, and then believe he's going to give it to you and sit in peace. Eric says, our grandfather Abraham was anxious and lied about his wife. That caused plagues to come upon Pharaoh and his whole house. See, when we're anxious, we make some bad choices. When we walk in that stress and live in that stress, we get in our own way, just like Abraham. So it comes for us to say, you know what? Okay, God, I am anxious, but we got to own it. We have to own first that I am anxious, I'm worried, I'm nervous. What you going to do? If we like Abraham, we're going to make some bad choices. And in Proverbs, lean not into our own understanding. That's what we get in the way. Our own understanding will make us nervous. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. When we allow God to direct our path, then we don't have to be anxious. See, the anxiety comes in when we forget that we still are blessed, when we forget that when we walk in that anxiety, when we just let ourselves be in that moment of anxiety, yeah, we're going to be stressed because we're leaning on our own understanding. When we say, okay, God, it's on you tonight. My own understanding said, I wasn't even at a point where I'll just go home. I was just at a point of, that was the only word that could, and then I was like, okay, God, what you gonna do? I did. It was out loud. I told the producer of the show, okay, I was gonna go. We're gonna talk about anxiety. I'm feeling anxiety. We had the guest didn't come on because of anxiety. So you know what? Maybe that's God's message. And Eric is right. He says that we pass anxiety to our children. Isaac and Jacob dealt with anxiety. Now let's talk about that. One of the things we were going to talk about with abuse is, and this generalizes to anything, whatever we do as parents, we train our children by what we do more than what we say. So the way it applies, first I'll talk about from that abuse standpoint. If you grow up in a home and that's all you see, you know it's wrong, you know how it makes you feel, but you have learned no other coping mechanism other than to be physically abusive, to be verbally abusive, because that's all you see. So when you're older, you repeat those same patterns because you didn't have any other means to do it. Anxiety. And we can talk about there is some studies that, mental health, physical health, all that can have a genetic component, but it can also have the same learned behavior component. If you are the nervous Nelly, the anxious person who doesn't manage life well because of your anxiety, and you have children, you know what? They may do the same thing because that's what they see. That's what my mama always did that. I don't know why I do it. Because we can think about, we've all done something that you did and you're like, I don't know where that came from. That's just like mama or that's just like daddy. Well, man, that anxiety can be the same thing. So if you don't manage your anxiety, it will manage you and it may manage your kids. It can have that trickle down effect. Is that something you want? Um, so what do we do, man? Obviously, I like to give you the picture of here's what's going on and here's what we can do on the positive. So we look at anxiety. It's real. It's not going anywhere unless we take control. So I think one of the first things I want to say to you is when it comes to anxiety, own it. Now, own it doesn't mean that, oh, yeah, I'm having this anxiety attack and I'm just going to stay here. No, own it because you can't get rid of anything you don't own. I can't come to your house and just start getting rid of your stuff. I need to get rid of my own. So I'm going to own the anxiety and say, you know what, anxiety, you're not going to control me. I'm going to control you. I'm putting you out of my life. If it needs medicine to help, take it. Needs therapy to help, go. Need God to help, pray. And usually you need all of it. And it's okay. For those of you with that superwoman cape on or superman, we got some supermen. Now, I'm not going to leave you out, brother. Some of you are got that big M, I'm the man. And I can do everything. And a real man can't cry. So I may hurt, but I can't do nothing with that hurt because I'm a man. Take that cape off too. You don't need it. It's not good for you either. Be able to love yourself enough to know that you can be vulnerable. You don't have to be super anything. You just have to be who you are. And as long as you're being who you are, you're good. Take that anxiety, own it. And I see somebody saying, pray for me and burning my cape. Go, Kanetra, burn it. Burn, baby, burn. And there are a lot of us need to take that cape. I took mine off. Now, I have to admit, sometimes I put it back on. But I can remember I've taken mine off. I don't have to be everything to everybody. I just have to be what God wants me to be. So when you're managing your anxiety, you own it. I see Eric. He says he's a recovering cape wearer. Good. Stay in recovery. Don't put it back on. I'm going to be who I need to be. And if I experience anxiety, I'm going to own it so I can get rid of it. I'm not going to let anxiety control me. I'm going to control it. We're just be who you are, and it's okay. As we wind, I told you we were going to have an abbreviated session tonight. We're going to end in a minute by doing a relaxation exercise. I want to give you that woosah moment. But before I do, there are a few things I do want to tell you about. I normally have on the screen my, what I call it, my points for the ending. And, we are going to get through, that's what would have been up there. My call to action. Texans, tomorrow is the last day to early vote. If you have not early voted, get out of your house tomorrow and do it. You don't know what's going to happen Tuesday. We just don't know. So I encourage you, vote. Now, if you wait till Tuesday, that's fine. Vote, long as you vote. So vote, vote, vote. And again, vote. I also want to invite you all to a 12-hour prayer vigil. If you're listening on Facebook, you can look right on my Facebook page, and it's called 12 for 12 Prayer Vigil for Our Country. We started to do this prayer vigil because I was talking to my sister and another friend, and we were like, we need to pray before the election. I wish we could just pray. And I'm like, okay, so we just gonna do it. Stop. So we didn't any longer need to say what we were gonna do. We're gonna do it. Yes, it was last minute, but you know what? God hears us. We have a lot of anxiety about the election, so I'm just going to see if I can scroll down. So we're going to pray from 8 a.m. Saturday morning to 8 p.m. Saturday evening. We're going to first pray for our country. We're going to pray for the election. We're going to pray for our health, mental and physical health. We're going to pray for the impact of the pandemic on society. We're going to just talk about pray for your spiritual wellness, the power of prayer, a relationship with God. We're going to pray for self love and self care, religious leaders and religious institutions, families, education, housing, the prison industrial complex, which is that pipeline to prison that our children are forced into. And we're going to pray for the criminal justice system. And we're going to end again by praying for the election in our country. If you'd like to be a part of this prayer vigil and pray, look online and you will see how to contact us and say, hey, I want to be a part of it. If you want to just listen, tune in. It's all on there. It'll be a Zoom call, and the Zoom information is listed below. So pray with us. I told you the last thing we were going to do would be to do a relaxation exercise because, to manage that anxiety, we need that woosah moment. So we did the breathing in the beginning. We did this once before, but we're going to end differently. But I'm going to give you all that woosah moment. So take a moment and take in a deep breath and slowly let it out. Taking a deep breath and slowly let it out. This time I want you to imagine yourself walking through the woods, but it's a safe place. You're on the woods on somebody's property. No lions, tigers, or bears, but so you feel safe, just walking. And as you're walking, the sun is coming through the trees just enough to touch your face, and it feels good. It's not hot. It's not cold. It just feels good. And you're walking and you come along this little stream and you hear the sounds of the water. So you just stop and you watch the water just flowing down, easily flowing down. And you dump all of your worry, your anxiety, your care, your concern into that water, and it floats away. As it floats away, you take in a deep breath and you slowly let it out. You see all of your anxiety floating away, and you realize you don't have to hold on to that anxiety. That big S on your chest, that big M on your chest, that superhero cape you were wearing, is flowing down the river, and you are not going to pick it up. So stand there and enjoy this moment of freedom because you have allowed all of your care, concern, and worry to go away. Take in another deep breath. Take in one more deep breath. And slowly. I'm going to count backwards from 10 to 1. And when I get to 1, you'll open your eyes, but hold on to the feeling of feeling good and calm and at peace and knowing for today you've thrown your cares, your worries, and that super cape down the river and it's going away. 10, 9, 8, 7. Take in a deep, deep breath again. Slowly let it out. 6, 5, 4, 3. One more deep, deep breath. Slowly let it out. 2, 1. So this week, if stress is coming your way, remember, let it go. Don't let it paralyze you. And as I like to remind you, mental health is health. So I'll see you next week and let that stress go.